Alright, it's your boy Life of Darius, aka Joy the Martian, and we are back. We're back today with more Beatles. Right, now we just finished the White Album reaction, and I did say at the end of that reaction we're going to be taking a little Beatles break for the rest of the week, right? And by Beatles break, I didn't necessarily mean we're just going to be ignoring the Beatles entirely, like pushing them to the side. Listen, I understand how YouTube works, right? I just gained like 1,300 subscribers within the span of like 6 days. And to be honest, a majority of those subscribers came to me through Beatles content, right? So I'm not going to just completely forgo Beatles content because y'all want to see it. And this is my favorite band from the 60s so far, right? I will say I did just finish recording the Led Zeppelin 1 reaction. And I'm not going to spoil anything about that video, but oh shit, okay, that's all I'm going to say. Oh my God. But even with me doing things like Led Zeppelin, the Beach Boys, like branching out to more bands, there will still consistently be Beatles content on here. There's a lot of Beatles that I still haven't got to. Like, y'all just put me on to the past masters. I didn't even know it was like a whole 40-track album of songs that didn't make the albums. Like, it's just so much with the Beatles. And alongside with me doing like reactions to like certain songs that I didn't get to here and there, I also want to react to like videos, man. Beatles lore. I love lore. Songs by themselves are good enough, right? Like, let's just get that out the way. But then once you learn about the lore, like it seems like every Beatles song has lore. And then there's always a video on YouTube explaining the lore of God. Damn near every Beatles song, bro. God. Yes, sir. More Beatles lore. More Beatles lore. I'm always ready to get into more lore when it comes to the Beatles. You know, every single song seems to have a story. And Helter Skelter, from what I see in the comments, seems to have a pretty insane story, right? For a day straight, every single time I looked at my comments and then refreshed, every time I would see like, Charles Manson, you should look up Charles Manson. Or you really like Helter Skelter, look up the Beatles and Charles Manson and Helter Skelter. I'm like, what? I don't know much about Charles Manson other than him being, you know, a cult leader in the 60s, right? For some reason, this is you guys in the comments telling me this cult leader from the 60s is somehow forever connected to the Beatles due to this one song. And that's what we're here to find out today, man. Enough talking. Right, my intros be long, but I be trying to break stuff down to y'all, man. Like, y'all new to the channel. I gotta talk to y'all sometimes, man. That's just what it is. Okay, 1, 2, 3, like it.
When the Beatles released their self-titled album, aka The White Album, on the 22nd of November, 1968, they knew very little about how a certain man would interpret the lyrics on the album.
You got crazy
Blackbird,
eyes.
Piggies, and Helter Skelter were all songs that Charles Manson interpreted as a grandiose message, telling him about a larger-than-life prophecy. In his eyes, the Beatles were the four horsemen of the apocalypse, written about in the Bible. In his ears, Helter Skelter was a song about the fall of man, about a coming race war. The guy was out of his mind. There's no doubt about that. Inspired by the song, he and his group set out to initiate the apocalypse, killing 5 people in the process.
You know, if I wanted to kill somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing.
I've seen this clip before.
On the other hand, the song itself had nothing to do with a possible apocalypse. The song was made with the intention of making the heaviest song in contemporary music. But as time passed by, both the term and the song was preserved in music history. Now you might wonder, if the song's not about the apocalypse and race wars, then what is it about?
What are you talking about, Paul?
The lyrics were based off an amusement park ride. It was a tower with a slide that spiraled down towards the ground. It's literally quite the opposite of what it became known for. It's one of the heaviest sounding songs of its time, but still has a...
Hold on. So you're telling me that Helter Skelter is about an amusement park ride? Okay, I can understand that. Not only is Helter Skelter about a music park ride, but Charles Manson, what? This is why they needed social media in the 60s, man, because if Charles Manson just had an iPhone, he literally could have just picked up his phone and looked up the true meaning of this song, right? He would have known it was just about a carnival ride and not about the end of the world. But even then, I'm sure he still would have found an excuse to do what he wanted to do, right? This is Charles Manson. I've never seen one clip of Charles Manson where he didn't look crazy, right? So he was going to find a way no matter what.
It's one of the heaviest sounding songs of its time, but still has a harmless lyrical concept behind it. The musical inspiration for the song.
Why is it always a juxtaposition when it comes to the Beatles, bro? Like, why are you making this this song that sounds like death, but it's really about a roller coaster. Like actually, and I actually could kind of understand that because the song definitely feels like a roller coaster, right? But you would never think the song is just about some little spirally thing at a time. No, bro, it sounds like death. And I think I said during the video, no song made in 1960 anything should sound that hard, right? If I was in 1968 and I heard Helter Skelter for the first time, I might want to hurt somebody too, bro. I'm not defending Charles Manson at all. Terrible person, right? Terrible human, crazy, controlling, vindictive, but I can see how that song could have affected some minds in the 60s, bro. Like, imagine, like, the entire 60s, you just hearing songs like, you know, do, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then just 4 or 5 years later, you got Helter Skelter blaring out your speakers, bro. That's a big change in the landscape, bro. Like, that's a lot. That'll give me whiplash, too. You feel me?
Lyrical concept behind it. The musical inspiration for the song first came to McCartney when he read an article in Melody Maker where Pete Townshend of The Who spoke about their new single, I Can't.
Who is that?
Townshend was quoted to have said
that
the track was their dirtiest, grittiest, filthiest piece of music.
That shit was dirty.
Feeling competitive, McCartney decided to create something way heavier than all his previous songs. Many music reviewers at the time had also criticized McCartney for writing too many ballads. So this was an opportunity for him to show another one of his musical sides.
But don't you want me to make you?
The vocals were louder than ever, with McCartney screaming into the microphone at several occasions. They also wanted the drums to be as loud as possible. This led to the creation of one of the Beatles' most well-known quotes.
I got blisters on my fingers!
Oh, he was dead
That
ass?
was no joke, by the way. Ringo was bleeding by the end of the take.
Nah.
In an interview back in 2008, Ringo commented on the outburst in the song by saying that the track was actually very long, and we were just pounding. It was a jam, really. It turned into that.
That's crazy.
The only way off the kit was, look,
he was playing so hard. He ended up with blisters on. I thought they was
Ringo
just saying
was right about comparing the recording to a jam session. The band had to go through tens of takes to get it right. But during one specific session, they recorded a version of the song that went on for 27 minutes and 11 seconds.
What?
If Ringo played as hard as he possibly could for that long or longer, it's easy to see why he screamed out in pain at the end.
Hey, shout out Ringo, man. We don't give Ringo enough credit, bro. Ringo's drumming, right? The steady whoops. I've been getting a lot of videos on my recommended about Ringo's drumming. Right, and it's definitely made me appreciate what Ringo does a little bit more, man. I kind of myself thought it was a little underwhelming, right? I've seen rock drummers, like I've seen rock and roll drummers. I see what they be doing with all the like going crazy and shit. I've never seen Ringo do that. What those videos kind of taught me was that you don't really have to do that to be a great drummer, right? It's all about, you know, rhythm, flow, pace, things of that nature. And Ringo had all that down packed. So just quick Ringo love real quick. We're gonna finish this video, but you know, shout out Ringo, man. He played till he had blisters on his fingers. You gotta respect that. That's some real savage activity right there.
At the end. It wasn't unusual for the band members to flip out during the recording sessions for their songs. As producer Chris Thomas recalls from the session on the 9th of September, while Paul was doing his vocal, George Harrison had set fire to an ashtray and was running around the studio with it above his head, doing an Arthur Brown. A lot of people point to Helter Skelter as the beginning of metal music, because there weren't many people experimenting with heavy sounds like that back in 1968.
Okay.
You had bands like the Mothers of Invention, the Velvet Underground, Pink Floyd, Iron Butterfly, The Doors, and a few other bands that flirted with heavier and more darker sounding music, but very few came close to the brute force of McCartney's voice. On the 20th of November, 1968, 2 days before the song and their self-titled album was released, McCartney gave Radio Luxembourg an exclusive interview. Here he revealed even more information about what inspired him to write the song.
Anyway, Helter Skelter, that came about just because I'd read a review of a record where it said, and this group, it was about some group, I can't remember, saying, and this group really goes wild, and they just, this like echo on everything, they're screaming their heads off. And I just remember thinking, oh, it'd be great to do one like that. The pity they've done it, you know, must be great, really screaming record. And then I heard their record, and it was quite straight, and it was very sort of very sophisticated. It wasn't rough and screaming and tape echo at all. So I thought, oh, well, we'll do one like that then. And I had this song called Helter Skelter, which is just a ridiculous song. So we did it like that because I like noise.
Before I started doing these Beatles videos, I definitely respected Paul, right? Obviously, I knew about Paul's importance to the Beatles just by learning about Sgt. Pepper's and like the creation of that album. It was like, okay, Paul, like I like John's songs, but obviously Paul like the engine behind this machine. I've known that, right? But one thing that's starting to really make me like Paul a lot more than I used to is that competitive nature, bro. Like for Paul to sit in his studio and to be making the type of songs that he makes, like Honey Pie and Martha My Dear and things of that nature, for him to hear a song and like think to himself like, yo, this song is hard, but I could make something harder. Like that's Paul's mindset, and I can really love and respect that, bro. It gives me a whole new perspective on just his creative process, the idea, how his brain works.
When the convicted murderer Charles Manson first heard the Beatles' White Album, he didn't only see his vision through Helter Skelter, though. He also drew connections between the songs Piggies and Blackbird to support his personal interpretation. Piggies was in his mind a reference to filthy capitalists, while Blackbird was referring to more racially motivated things. Helter Skelter became the name of the apocalyptic event itself. Manson was supposedly a charismatic leader and was able to talk his group into initiating the war. Their mission was to start Helter Skelter.
Okay, ready. War.
What did they think they were
We are at war now.
But what did they...
On the 27th of July 1969, Manson and his followers were involved in murdering music teacher Gary Hinman. On August 9th, they murdered actress Sharon Tate and 4 of her guests. And even the next day, they proceeded to murder again, this time Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Obviously, these killings never led to a race war or the end of the world, and Manson and his family members were rightfully punished for their crimes.
That's just stupid,
About Manson, his actions and interpretation of the song, Lennon said, "He is balmy, like any other Beatles kind of fan who reads mysticism into it." I don't know what Helter Skelter has to do with knifing somebody. I've never listened to the words properly. It was just noise.
Shut up, John.
Now, Paul McCartney made Helter Skelter a more widely known term, and fortunately enough, Charles Manson did so too with his actions and accusations. Since then, the term has been used in countless
Skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shell.
I've dealt with yourself, I tricked you out. I'm all helter skelter, I'm on that house. Enemy left but reflection.
Damn grips!
The expression Helter Skelter is originally defined as an action of undue haste, confusion, or disorder. But as
That's
time
exactly
passed
what the
by,
song
it
sounds
can't
like,
help but
man.
associated with the
Disorder.
horrific killings that marked the end of the hippie era.
Yeah.
But what I hope you take away from this video and what you keep in mind from now on is that it also represents one of the heaviest and most innovative songs of the 60s, and that this gives you the inspiration to innovate for yourself as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Also, a big shout out to Holly Hobbs, who actually helped me with the narration of this video, as you could tell. Make sure you check out this channel. There will be a link on the screen and in the description below.
Check out Lilac's music, man.
I hope this made your
Link in the
experience of
description.
rock
Go crazy.
music a little bit more meaningful, and I'll see you later.
Most definitely.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Slime. Okay, so that was understanding the Helter Skelter phenomenon, and this just pissed me off, y'all. I'm definitely gonna look more into the Manson murders after this. I love crime docs, cold case files, anything like that. I'm definitely interested in. So I'm definitely gonna find a documentary, like a full in-depth hour-long doc on Charles Manson, to get more information. Because right now, this dude just seems like an idiot to me. like listen, man, Helter Skelter. That song, I'm telling you, that song should not have been made in 1968, right? That song, it sounds like death and chaos and disorder, exactly how Paul wanted it to sound, right? So I can understand thinking Helter Skelter was a coded message. But for him to like somehow twist Blackbird into being like some race war thing, right? And even Piggies in of itself, like for him to just, this dude was off his rocker. And I was thinking there was going to be something that kind of, made the connection make more sense. But no, he literally was just listening to the Beatles, heard these songs and was like, oh, These are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And if you put time in the this was 1968, right? This was during the height of the civil rights movement. It was probably a lot of tension in America at this time, right? So I could see how somebody could lose their mind to the point where they felt like that, man. It's just unfortunate that it had to be connected to the Beatles, right? The Beatles. When you think of the Beatles, you think of just wholesomeness, man. Wholesomeness, fun music, good vibes, man. You don't want to have to think of this idiot, right? But unfortunately, man, he's put himself in the pantheon with the greats by being a dumbass. That's pretty much all I can say right now. All right, but I will be back tomorrow. Led Zeppelin 1 drops tomorrow, Saturday the 8th. Is it the 8th or the 9th? It was Saturday. It drops Saturday. Led Zeppelin 1 will be out Saturday. I'm also going to be dropping reactions to the Beatles anthology singles. I believe they're called Real Love and Free as a Bird. Those will be coming too, probably alongside the Led Zeppelin videos. We're going to keep the content coming. Y'all like it. I love it, man. Y'all know how I go. Any suggestions? Any advice? Any questions? Tell me anything I did, said wrong. Leave it in the comments below. Y'all know how I go. With that being said, I'm going to bid y'all adieu. It's your boy Life of Darius, a.k.a. Dre Manson, and I'm out in Jesus' sandals, man. I repent.